And now to our Sunday specials tonight. Devastating floods have hit some states in the country with warnings of more in the coming days. There are also fears of food shortage as water has washed away farmlands and destroyed seeds preserved ahead of the next planting season. In this special report, TVC News Abuja Deputy Bureau Chief Femi Akode brings us the stories of people counting their losses and the cost of recovering from the disaster.
At least 7 states have been hit by floods this year. This is the worst after 2012 when floodwaters killed 363 people and displaced more than 2 million people. Jigawa, Kogi, Anambra, Katsina, Adamawa, Nasarawa and Bayelsa states are currently dealing with the effect of the floodwaters that have forced them out of their homes. In Jigawa state alone, the death toll is more than 100, 17 in Anambra and 6 in Kogi. Already the rising water levels have displaced more than 1.4 million people across the country. The situation in Kogi is also there. Before the floodwaters started to recede, a portion of the Abuja-Lokoja highway was completely cut off, leaving passengers and motorists stranded for days. The floodwater has taken its toll on the road. This is the chaos on the Abuja-Lokoja highway. Man-hour is lost daily as travelers ply this strategic link road between the north and the south in Lokoja. Inside Lokoja, the capital of Kogi State, the devastation caused by torrential rain has led to the destruction of property, farmlands and livelihood. Saadu Halilu takes us on a canoe to what used to be his home. He lived here with his wife and 3 children. When the flood hit, he could not save most of his property, but he was lucky to escape with his family from the surging waters. He paddled through water on what used to be dry land, a pathway to his house.
The flood waters began to rise suddenly. We were lucky. Some of us know how to swim. That is why we did not get drowned. We removed all our valuables and kept them at an elevated position, but the water still reached there and destroyed everything.
The sight of houses submerged, livelihood destroyed, and the stories of affected residents around here gives one a clear picture of the devastation. Halilu is just one out of the 1.4 million Nigerians directly dealing with the devastating effects of flood. His house is one of the 90,000 homes across the country, either partially destroyed or completely destroyed. He now has to stay in this makeshift ramshackle until the flood waters recede, and it is safe for him and his family to return home.
Okay. I lost so much to the flood. I'm just thankful. Well, a kind neighbor gave me a place to stay. It is not comfortable, but I have to manage.
Ochuko does not enjoy the luxury of having a temporary roof over his head. He sleeps here in the open, and his night rest is intermittently interrupted by rain. His work tools have also been washed away in the flood, making it extra difficult for him to earn a living.
I go work outside. Before I came back, water don't pack all things within my house. Even right now, as water pursue me, I can't stay outside, I sleep. No work use, no money when I go take buy wood. I go borrow another wood today, I can't drop it there. And I borrow work use too, because water don't spoil every carry and go.
Even livestock was lost. The few surviving are struggling to adapt to the extreme conditions caused by the high tides. These chicks lost their mother hen to the flood. Now they are left to fend for themselves, cold and lonely, as they move on to an uncertain future. Mohammed Tukura is from a predominantly fishing family. He was appointed as the custodian of the water, Serikin Ruwa. He sits outside his house every day and looks at the river that was once his source of livelihood but has now overflowed its banks and destroyed property. He has a rather interesting perspective on the devastation. He believes the flood is a consequence of bad human behavior and it is nature's way to pay back.
But this thing that happened to us now, we know it's from God, and we believe in God. We can't say and water is angry with human being. No, it's God. It's our hand that fetch all this wahala, because we are a sinner.
The flood was not unexpected. There have been several flood warnings issued by the government and other relevant agencies, but affected communities are always not prepared when the flood waters come into their homes.
We release warnings early, but people don't heed to that warning. We are working so hard to alert the nation. When seasonal climate prediction was released, we alerted the whole nation.
The government should provide a permanent location for the affected community around here, if they can do it. I know actually it will cost much, but the government has the ability. If they have the sympathy for the people, that's what is expected of them to do at this actual time, because it has been happening. It has happened severally, so this is the right time government should do it.
Usman Mohammed is one of the leaders in this temporary camp for residents of Akbaku community displaced by floods in Kogi State. In this camp, the lack of potable water, good sanitation and hygiene put the internally displaced persons here at risk of contracting communicable diseases. According to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, more than 2,000 confirmed cases of cholera were recorded between January and September this year, with 233 deaths. But they fear that the numbers may rise if there's an outbreak in any of the temporary shelters for flood victims in affected states. More than 600 rural dwellers now seek refuge in this camp for the internally displaced. They have been chased out of their homes by flood waters. They now look back and remember the ruins left behind, and they look forward to an uncertain future. Nafisa delivered a baby girl after she fled her home with her family to seek shelter in this camp packed with hundreds of displaced persons. 2 other women in this camp have also been put to bed and have to raise their newborns in the most uncomfortable situation.
I will still do my best to give my daughter a good life. The condition here is not conducive. We are really suffering. It was a painful experience when I had to run away with my pregnancy. Thank God for safe delivery.
In this temporary camp, the displaced persons are united by circumstance. They cohabit peacefully and have even become fond of themselves. They hope the flood waters will completely recede, but they know that life after the floods will be tough.
Some of the items lost cannot even be known now. There are some materials that are lost, wasted now, that you cannot even identify, maybe until you go back home and maybe check to see whether they are no more. But all the same, for now, some parts of the buildings now are falling down as a result of floating of the water. So we're losing a lot of things. Maybe most of the items, as we were relocating most of our materials, we could not pack them all. We left some in the water. So we cannot even quantify the number of materials or items lost for now.
The government is warning again that the worst is not yet over. Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management says more states are still at risk and advised them to heed the early flood alerts.
Snow flood has become an annual disaster with devastating consequences, and the effect of climate change makes it difficult to prevent floods in Nigeria. It can be mitigated though and managed. The meeting also resolved that there was enough warning and information about the 2022 flood. But unfortunately, this is where we are. It appears that this warning was not heeded to.
The federal government is also concerned about the impact of this flood on food security, as more than 76,000 hectares of farmland have been partially destroyed, while about 70,000 hectares of farmland are completely destroyed across the country. Residents of Akpako community camped here, and many others in flood-hit states across the country rely on government handouts and supplies of relief materials to alleviate the hardship caused by the torrent of water that has submerged their homes.